We begin the news at this hour in West Africa, where the latest data by the National Bureau of Statistics shows Nigeria's headline inflation rose to 31.70% in February. The NBS released the figure on Friday, with the latest data showing a rise from the 29.90% recorded in January 2024. According to the NBS Consumer Price Index and Inflation Report for February, the hike represents a 1.80% increase from what was recorded in January. The data shows that on a year-on-year basis, Nigeria's headline inflation rate was 9.79%, higher compared to the rate recorded in February 2023, which was 21.91%. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has reiterated that banks operating in the country cannot use their foreign exchange revaluation gains to pay dividends or meet their operational expenses. In a circular from the Apex Bank signed by the acting director of the Banking Supervision Department, Adetona Adedeji, banks were warned against such move. In September, the CBN directed deposit money banks to stop utilizing gains from their foreign exchange revaluation for dividends and operational expenditures. Forex revaluation gains occur when there is an increase in the value of a bank's assets and liabilities denominated in foreign currency due to a change in the exchange rate between the foreign currency and the local currency. And now to discuss this, I'm being joined by the head Financial Institutions Ratings, Augusto & Co., Ayokunle Olubomi. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Good evening.
So tell us, were you surprised by this latest directive by the Central Bank of Nigeria?
Well, actually, I wasn't surprised. And like you mentioned earlier, that we have foreign currency revaluation gain when there is an increase in the value of the asset of the bank, right? That is denominated in foreign currency. So that means that such a profit is not yet realized, or what some people can call an accounting profit or paper profit, is a profit or earnings that is not backed by cash. So if you are actually even spending those funds, either to pay dividends or to meet your operating expenses, it means that you are actually spending some funds that you've not realized, right? It's like counting your hen when they've not yet hatched, right? So it's actually, and even apart from even the CBN sending the circular, you realize that most banks don't even plan to use such funds because, like I said earlier, it's an unrealized profit.
All right, some people also say that it is an action of the CBN to save the Naira. How true is it? Is there a link?
No, unfortunately, no, right? Because you realize that that profit or that earnings has nothing to do with you save. It doesn't have to do with even FX at all. What it has to do with has to do with the health of the bank, to ensure that the bank have enough liquidity to meet its obligations, to ensure that banks don't spend some funds that they've not yet earned. They don't actually even expend the profit that hasn't been realized. So it has little or nothing to do with the exchange rate or even the value of the Naira.
So that would mean that such an action is counterproductive and, as you have said, would affect the financial health of these institutions. Would it also affect the stability of these banks?
No, let me reiterate. I'm not saying that it's actually it's actually it will affect the bank negatively or affect their operations, right? So think about it. You have an asset. There has been an increase in the value of the asset, but you've not sold the assets. So the assets are still in your possession. So if you are expending your so-called gains, right, you're going to realize that profit. And let's also not forget that as we have devaluation, theoretically, although it's very hard in reality, you could actually have Naira appreciation such that such a gain might actually be reversed. So imagine that you've expended funds, the so-called gain, you've actually spent it, but it didn't reverse. How will you be able to even plug the hole, right? So I think I think is that it will further strengthen the banks. It will ensure that banks expend only profit that are cash backed, right? The so-called the profit that is actually what we call high quality profit or high quality earnings, the one that is based on cash and not based on accounting profits or interpretation of accounting financial statement or the asset that is still in your possession, or we can say unrealized profits.
Finally, before I let you go, do you now think that banks in Nigeria can adjust their financial strategies and operations to comply with this restriction?
Like I said earlier, I don't think this directive will change a lot because a lot of banks, they realize that that profit is not yet realized. So you notice that a lot of banks in their spending, in their dividend, they don't actually even expend more of this revaluation gain. If we cast our mind back to 2016, when we had such similar revaluation gain by banks, you notice that the dividend payout ratio of the banks didn't increase significantly because they realized that, look, banks typically pay out dividends. They expend the amount that they expend on their operation is based on the cash that they've realized from their activities and not based on all the earnings. Because as an organization, some of your earnings will be backed by cash. Some will not be backed by cash, right? Based on interpretation of accounting principles or increase in the valuation of your assets. The most prudent thing is for you to focus on the one that is cash-based and expend only those ones that are actually cash-based. So like I said earlier, a lot of banks are actually using the earnings that are actually cash-based. And that's why you notice that there are some banks, although they've made profits, they don't pay dividends because the amount of cash, the cash profit that they've realized is actually low relative to those that is not cash-based.
Okay. Ayokunle Olubumi, thank you so much for your insights.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Moving on now, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has ordered the reopening of Nigeria's land and air borders with Niger Republic in compliance with the directive by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, at its extraordinary summit on February 24, 2024 in Abuja. News Central's Perpetua Fasomi Peter has more in this report.
Closure of land and air borders between ECOWAS countries and Niger to be lifted. No-fly zone of all commercial flights to and from Niger is to be lifted. Suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between ECOWAS member states and Niger is to be lifted.
This announcement set the tone for the Nigerian government to also lift the sanctions it imposed on Niger Republic. While the purpose of the sanction was to pressure the military junta in Niger to reinstate the deposed president and return to civilian rule, the unintended effect was damning.
They don't lock the border, we come drop goods. We want the government make them settle themselves, then if they settle themselves, then we should go. We keep here for a long time. We leave our peoples, our mothers and small children.
If we wish to buy the one mudu, one mudu, one bowls of the rice, before the border closure, we buy it. We buy it at 150, 15. But now we are buying it in 2,300 naira. The resident of Ilela local government, or the mother community, we are asking government to reopening the official border.
It's no surprise that many Nigerians heaved a sigh of relief when the Nigerian government announced it was lifting the sanctions imposed on the West African country.
These have economic implication on the two countries. The first one is that the food shortage we saw in Nigeria, which of course is still also affected Niger. The volume of rice available in Nigeria, especially in the northern region, reduced significantly, coupled with the fact that there is high level of insecurity in the northern Nigeria. Niger market or output from Niger always helped Nigeria to reduce the impact of this food shortage. How has ECOWAS countries helped their citizens to improve in terms of their living standard? It's a right decision to say we don't want more military to take over territories. But the question is, currently that you are in charge of the economy, what is happening to exports? What is happening to poverty? What is happening to exchange rate? What is happening to unemployment? What is happening to inflation?
Following a July 2023 military coup that ousted Niger's democratically elected president, Nigeria imposed sanctions, which included the closure of land and air borders, halting vital trade flows, and suspending financial transactions. While the pressure for a democratic transition in Niger remains, the resumption of trade offers a glimmer of hope for economic recovery. In Lagos, for News Central, Perpetua Fasomi Peter.
Well, I'll tell you that Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has called on the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to track terrorism funding in the country. This, he said, was one of the means to curb terrorism globally. A statement on Friday by the Director, Defense Information, Brigadier General Tukur Guzo, stated that the CDS made this known when the Executive Chairman of the EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, visited him in Abuja. He urged the EFCC to help in tracing funds related to terrorism. Musa also described the legal system of the country as soft, lamenting that the system is delaying the prosecution of suspects, which has become one of the major challenges of the military. And elsewhere, the gunmen who kidnapped 287 students and teachers from the LEA Primary School and Government Secondary School, Kuriga, Kaduna State, have demanded that all ransom be paid by March 27, 2024. Earlier, the kidnappers demanded 1 billion naira for the release after they spoke with Jubril Aminu, a community leader. On March 7, 2024, the school children were abducted by the bandits who took them into the forest. Aminu, who acted as a representative for the families of the hostages, said he received a call from the kidnappers on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the Nigerian military says it is collaborating with international partners to free the abducted students. We now tell you that the Nigerian Senate has passed for a second reading the Students' Loans Access to Higher Education Act Repeal and Enactment Bill 2024. This followed the correspondence by President Bola Tinubu, who wrote to the Senate seeking the repeal of the existing law and has submitted a fresh bill to be passed into law. This request comes a day after the announcement of a temporary suspension of the commencement of the student loan scheme, which would allow students of tertiary institutions access to interest-free loans to complete their studies. And our story is a non-governmental organization has organized an outreach to give back to the Nigeria Police Force by providing free medical care for them, provide basic relief materials during this hardship, and lots more. News Central's Bettina Nweli reports.
When you mention the word police to the average Nigerian, what comes to mind are things like fear, brutality, and other not-so-nice thoughts. In 2020, a nationwide protest, End SARS, saw thousands of Nigerian youths storm the streets to protest against police brutality and extrajudicial killings. However, this has not stopped the hand of benevolence from getting to them.
We kind of like thought about it like, okay, what extra thing can we do and who can we do it with? The entire team came up with, let's do something, for the force people, the personnel. Though they might not be quote unquote loved, liked, by people in general, but they're still humans.
The aim of the outreach was to check up on the health status of those responsible for protecting the nation. To no surprise, majority were found to have been living with hypertension and diabetes.
We were able to identify common medical conditions like polycontrol diabetes and hypertension as well in most of them. And a number of them didn't even know they were hypertensive. So some of them are not compliant with their medications. Some of them have never even had their blood pressure checked ever.
Most of them we noticed that most of them are hypertensive. Their BPs, most of them, their BPs are extremely high. So, I encourage police officers to always have a health check.
With smiles on their faces and grateful hearts, members of the force testify to feeling loved among society, as this outreach is not one that comes every day.
I like it too. We thank God.
People out there see police, they will think that police are different human beings. But the only thing that makes a policeman different from me and you is just their uniform. They brought many doctors here. Those doctors will check your health status, check whatever you have, advise you, then take your data. Then based on your health, the most important thing that they endeared us is that now what they want to do is whatever that is your problem, whatever that is your health challenge, they will recommend a hospital, a 5-star hospital for you, where you will go and they will put the bills.
The police is your friend is one slogan that is surrounded with a lot of controversy. However, it is safe to say that friendship is a two-way street. It is hoped that the Nigerian police will be more approachable to the common man as they carry out their duties to protect and serve. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Many thanks for being there. The Niger State government, North Central Nigeria, has budgeted 976 million naira for Ramadan feeding in the 8 emirate councils of the state. Also, assorted grains have been procured to be distributed to all the 25 local government areas, emirate councils, religious leaders, security agencies, and political parties in the state. The State Commissioner for Information, Binta Maman, made this known in a statement on Friday. The commissioner said each local government will receive 7,079 bags of assorted grains. She appealed to all those responsible for distribution and coordination of the palliatives and Ramadan feeding to be fair in carrying out their task. And back to this health-related story, medical professionals have stressed the importance of getting enough sleep, particularly for adults who frequently struggle with sleep deprivation from job shifts, long time spent in traffic, and religious events that frequently take place at midnight. In commemoration of World Sleep Day, medical professionals are bringing attention to the risks associated with sleep deprivation and how they affect mental and physical well-being. News Central's Adetona Adedeji tells us more.
Including memory, emotion and attention regulation, as well as processing speed and insight, might be affected by getting too little sleep. In Nigeria, a person's average sleep duration of 8 hours per night may be impacted by circumstances and time spent during heavy traffic. A quick survey around Lagos reveals that religious observances like vigils might also cause sleep deprivation.
I struggle to have 8 hours. But for some reasons, I barely would do 8 hours like 3 of 7 days.
Like 5-6 hours, it should be okay, for an individual.
So how many hours of sleep do you have?
Me, in a day, like, let's say 4. So I sleep like for like 12, and then for like 4 or 5, I'm up.
It's minimum of 8 hours, maybe in the night, in the morning. Sometime I slept 6 hours, but it maybe, for example, maybe I want to do vigil, sometimes 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours, at least, but properly of 8 hours.
While an adequate sleeping pattern creates connections between nerve cells in the brain, aiding the retention of newly learned knowledge, sleep deprivation wears out the brain, which makes it less capable of carrying out its functions. In commemoration of World Sleep Day, Dr. Itunu Johnson Shogbeton, speaking with News Central, linked inadequate or non-existent sleep to mental health issues like depression and anxiety.
Lack of sleep harms brain function, productivity, and immune function, leading to various health problems. Chronic sleep deprivation can contribute to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and mental health disorders like depression and anxiety.
To promote both physical and mental health, Dr. Johnson Shogbeton also emphasized fundamental lifestyle habits that are necessary to enhance sleep patterns.
Maintain a regular sleep schedule. 2. Develop a calming bedtime routine. 3. Optimize your sleep environment for darkness and quiet. 4. Limit daytime naps to 20 to 30 minutes in the mid-afternoon. 5. Practice healthy eating and drinking habits. Stop smoking and limit caffeine and alcohol intake.
The purpose of World Sleep Day is to increase public awareness of the value of sleep, as well as management and prevention of sleep disorders. Traditionally, the day is celebrated on Friday preceding the spring equinox, which falls on March 15, 2024, by coincidence. In Lagos for News Central, Adetona Adedeji.
The news continues in West Africa, where some Senegalese school students are more concerned by the country's upcoming presidential election, which they are counting on to bring about change. Gaston Berger University in St. Louis, North Senegal, was badly hit by the political crisis triggered by the delay to the February 25 presidential poll. 2 students were killed and several others injured in protests that left a total of 4 people dead across the country. Some students in the university said they want to have a taste of a new system.
Une balle m'a frôlé au niveau de la tête, ici, c'est-à-dire que sur le nez. J'ai essayé de fuir malgré les douleurs que je ressentais en ce moment. Et j'ai reçu au moment où j'ai commencé à courir, j'ai reçu une autre balle au niveau de ma hanche. Voilà. Et depuis lors, j'ai essayé de courir pour échapper à la mort, mais lorsque je me suis assis, voilà, j'ai senti vraiment des douleurs atroces.
C'était justement pour défendre la Constitution en tant que telle. Malheureusement, ce qui s'est soldé le 9 par le décès du camarade Alpha Yero Tunkara. Et subitement, les étudiants sont sortis pour protester contre le décès de leur camarade. Et c'est dans ces circonstances-là que notre camarade a été abattu, en l'occurrence Prosper Clédor Senghor. Et beaucoup d'autres étudiants qui ont eu quand même à avoir des blessures qui sont graves.
Donc nous voulons avoir un nouveau système afin que les jeunes aussi puissent continuer ce qu'ils avaient à faire avant. Si on prend par exemple l'exemple de l'immigration, avant, même si ça existait, ça n'avait pas autant d'ampleur comme actuellement. Et avec ce système-là, ça joue sur beaucoup de choses. C'est pourquoi les jeunes d'aujourd'hui ne veulent plus rester dans ce pays.
Still in Senegal, the country's opposition figure Ousmane Sonko and his second-in-command presidential candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye have been released from prison in Dakar. Their release on Thursday evening comes 10 days before the presidential election. This follows weeks of crisis after President Macky Sall postponed the February 25 presidential vote. Sonko was at the heart of a bitter 2-year standoff with the state and has been in prison since July. The opposition leader came third in the 2019 presidential election but was disqualified from running in 2024. Sonko has endorsed Faye, who has also been in prison since April 2023, to replace him at the ballot. Meanwhile, supporters of Senegalese opposition leader Ousmane Sonko are celebrating wildly in the streets of the capital, Dakar, after his release from prison. Sonko and his deputy, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, were driven away from the city's Cap Manuel prison.
Tout à fait, l'un des plus beaux moments de ma vie. C'est juste magique, on ne pouvait pas rater ça. Nous étions en train de travailler, mais on était obligés d'arrêter tout ce qu'on avait à faire pour venir vivre ce moment qui est tout simplement magique. Nous sommes juste contents, on ne pouvait pas manquer ce jour. Et ça fait très longtemps qu'on attendait d'en arriver là. C'est pas trop tôt. Aujourd'hui, le peuple sénégalais est sorti, tout le monde est content. Et ça veut tout simplement dire que les élections doivent même se passer demain s'il était possible. Parce qu'on a besoin du président Ousmane Sonko comme président de ce pays ou de Bassirou Diomaye Faye tout simplement.
C'est historique, je n'ai jamais vu un convoi aussi monstre. C'est un convoi monstre, impossible de le suivre. La file, elle est trop longue, comme vous pouvez vous imaginer. Vous avez vu la file, elle est longue. On se dit un jour de fête, tellement tout le monde est dehors. C'est inimaginable.
Moi, je suis une campagne, mais ça fait août parce que Sonko gagne. Mais nous avons besoin de à partir de 2 heures, nous avons une campagne.
Now, away from Senegal, we tell you that police in Somalia say 3 people were killed in an hours-long siege by Al-Shabaab group at a popular hotel near the presidential palace in the capital, Mogadishu. Somali police spokesman Colonel Qasim Ahmed Robel told a press conference that 27 others, including 18 civilians and 9 soldiers, were wounded. Armed fighters had stormed the SYL hotel, which had been targeted several times in the past in a hail of bullets late on Thursday. It broke a relative lull in violence by the Al-Qaeda-linked group, demonstrating its continued ability to strike despite a major military offensive against the militants.
iyo 30 daqiiqo ayaa qawaariijtu waxay weerar dhuumaalaysi ah ku qaadeen hotel SYL ciidanka nabadgelyada oo si degdeg ah uga jawaabaya saacada kadib wuxuu bannaanka soo dhigay 5 qawaariijta ee gudaha u gashay hotel SYL. Shacabka Soomaaliyeed iyo ciidanka oo isku jira waxaa ka dhaawacmay 27 qof, 9 askari iyo 18 shacab ah. Halkaas waxaa ku naf waayay ciidan gaaraya 3 askari. Xaaladda hadda waa ay nabad qabtaa.
Let's also tell you that land supply routes to an eastern DR Congo town sheltering 300,000 displaced people and 65,000 residents have been cut off from the rest of the country by fighting between rebels and government troops and collapsed infrastructure. Also wedged between Lake Kivu and the Masisi Mountains, the town of Minova has effectively become an island since M23 rebels cornered several units of the DR Congo's army into Minova Bay last month. The residents speak about shortage of medical personnel and drugs.
Kijielekeza kunyumba kwenda kutafuta chakula, kikutana na vita munjia. Kisha mimi nilikuwa victime wa masasi kumuguu. Vile wakenipeleka hapa ilikuwa vita ya M23 na wazalendo. Shida ambayo tunaona tupo wanatugharamia, lakini tunakosa vitu mingi sawa vile dawa, chakula, mavazi. Kusema mate tunateseka sana kabisa.
Tulikuwa watu mingi twakomeretse turi abantu 5, 2 barapfa, sigara turi ingomeri 3 sasa.
Na wale 3 wewe peke ndio ulivunjika au niye wote?
Wale 3 mie nilibakiaka, wengine wale bakiwa transfer.
Bon, du coup, la route nord est bloquée par les affrontements, donc c'est non praticable. Et la route sud est bloquée aussi par des catastrophes.
Away from the shores of Africa, we tell you that at least 21 people have died in a devastating incident off the coast of northwestern Senegal's Sabet district as an inflatable boat carrying migrants capsized. Officials confirmed the death of 21 individuals, including 5 children, with uncertainty surrounding the total number of passengers on board. Speaking to the media on Friday, Senegal Governor Iliam Akhtas provided details of the incident. According to Akhtas, there is no reliable information about how many people were on the boat and says clarification work is ongoing. Judge Scott McAfee has ruled in Georgia that Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis and her office can continue prosecuting Donald Trump and his co-defendants, but only if Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade steps down. In his Friday ruling, McAfee said the defense failed to meet its burden, proving that Willis acquired an actual conflict of interest in this case through her personal relationship and recurring travels with her lead prosecutor. However, the judge said the record in the case highlighted a significant appearance of impropriety that infects the current structure of the prosecution team, an appearance that must be removed through the state's selection of 1 or 2 options. Now, a Russian missile attack hit civilian structure in Ukraine's Black Sea port city of Odessa on Friday, killing at least 14 people and wounding 46 others in Moscow's deadliest attack in weeks. Russia has stepped up its strikes on the southern city in recent weeks, launching drones or missiles almost every day. Officials say first responders who arrived at the scene of a Russian missile attack on homes in the southern Ukrainian city of Odessa on Friday were themselves struck by a second missile. A paramedic and an emergency service worker were among the 14 people said to have been killed. Moving on now, the Netherlands announced Friday that it has chosen France's naval group for a multi-billion euro contract to build 4 attack submarines for its navy. State Secretary for Defense Christophe van der Maat said after naval group was chosen over Germany's Tikkenskrop marine systems and Sweden's Saab AB that the choice of naval group, 2 naval yards, didn't win and understands that the disappointment is large.
Moment. Ik ben trots en als ik heel eerlijk ben, ook een beetje opgelucht dat ik vandaag bekend kan maken wie onze nieuwe onderzeeboten gaat bouwen. Er is lang op dit moment gewacht, dus ik kom meteen ter zake. De werf die onze 4 nieuwe onderzeeboten gaat bouwen is Naval Groep.
Straight to business now. Access Corporation has appointed Adedeji Mokede, a former CEO of the bank, as the non-executive chairman. The market's reaction to this appointment was discussed by Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO of Asher Investments Limited, during an appearance on the Business Edge show. Imokede's appointment marks a significant development for Access Holdings, and he expressed his excitement to be back in active service to the Access Group ecosystem.
Access Bank was on a full beat, but at the end of the day, it didn't end up on full beat, but at least it closed the day positive. And that positivity hopefully will continue. But again, like I said, investors know what to expect of him, know his antecedent, knows that every decision that has been taken, he had to say with the late Dr. Herbert Wigwe. And you mustn't forget that he's also one of the majority shareholders of Access Holding, that is Ike Mokwede. So he still has a stake there also, even if he's also the chairman of Coronation Merchant Bank. But we don't think there'll be clashes of interest because that's a merchant bank and he's a chairman of a full commercial bank that are involved in it also. So definitely it's exciting times. Looking forward to what will happen with Access Banks with him.
In February 2021, the Nigeria Ports Authority launched the electronic call-up system for trucks at the ports in Lagos. The NPA electronic call-up system, powered by a web application called ITO, was introduced to restore sanity to port operations at the Lagos ports and put an end to the Apapa Roads nightmare caused by articulated trucks and corrupt security and traffic control officials. Truck Transit Park Limited, managers of the electronic call-up system, say the launch has reduced the traffic gridlock seen along the port roads and cut cargo dwell time, thereby making the ports more competitive.
2021 February, if you are coming from Surulere to the ports, it may take you 2 hours. Now, that same journey will take you about 15 to 30 minutes, depending on other road factors. So that's one key achievement we've had. We've also been able to reduce the cost of moving cargo from several millions of naira, about 1.6 million naira some 3 years ago, to about 600,000, 400,000, depending on the size of the cargo or the size of the container you're evacuating. The informal payments that used to go to agberos, area boys, police officers, last mile officials, and others, that has largely been curtailed. That the revenue from port access is now channeled electronically. The government can account for what revenue has come in, and it goes into the pockets of the government and other identified stakeholders within the ecosystem. We've also improved, working collaboratively with the Nigerian Ports Authority, the quantum of exports that are processed through the Lagos ports. This has increased threefold from 2021 when we came on board till January of this year. So these are some of the key achievements, in addition, of course, to employment which we've created.
You can find out more on how help in eradicating the perennial gridlock seen on the access roads to Lagos ports can be improved by watching Maritime Radar on Saturday, 7 p.m. and a repeat on Sunday, 1 p.m. on News Central TV. In sports, the Nigerian wrestling team can heave a sigh of relief after they received a last-minute financial boost to make their trip to Egypt for the African Championships a reality. The team will arrive in Alexandria after an impressive performance at the 13th African Games, where they won 6 gold medals. Nigeria Wrestling Federation President Daniel Igali had earlier disclosed that a severe lack of funds were threatening Nigeria's participation at the championships. However, a late but much-needed injection of funds to the federation has put the fears to rest. The first batch of wrestlers are already en route to Cairo, while the second batch will leave on Sunday. The African Championships will be held in Alexandria, Egypt from March 14 to 19. The senior competition where Nigeria will compete will take place on the 19th and 20th of March. The best wrestlers will book their tickets for the Olympics qualifier, which holds in Cairo, Egypt, from March 22 to 24. And also, the Ghana Football Association have confirmed the appointment of Otto Addo as the head coach of the men's senior national team, Black Stars. In a statement issued on Friday, the GFA indicated that Otto Addo ranked the highest in the recruitment process and earned himself a 3-year contract. This is the second time Otto Addo will be leading the Black Stars, having coached the team from March 2022 to November 2022. In its first stint, he qualified the team for the 2022 FIFA World Cup held in Qatar after eliminating eternal rivals Nigeria in a 2-legged playoff. He went on to quit his post after the Black Stars failed to go past the group stage at the World Cup. Let's also tell you that Real Madrid have filed a complaint with the Spanish Football Federation against hate crime prosecutors after their striker Vinicius Jr. suffered racist and hateful insults this week on social media. The video on social media appeared to show Atletico Madrid fans chanting a racist slur before their Champions League game with Inter Milan. Real Madrid have alleged there were similar chants from Barcelona fans before the encounter against Napoli on Tuesday. Spain's La Liga said they will also report the incident. Vinicius Jr. has suffered racial abuse on several occasions across Spain in the last 3 years. Last June, 4 men were fined 60,001 euros and given a 2-year stadium ban for hanging an effigy of Vinicius Jr. near Real's training ground in January 2023. Arena MRV, home to Brazilian Serie A side Atlético Mineiro, has been named the best stadium in 2023. A total of 35 stadiums entered the competition, officially known as Estadio Presidente Elias Khalil and popularly known as Arena do Galo. The stripped stadium is located in the city of Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, in Brazil. Inaugurated on the 15th of April 2023, the stadium has a capacity of 46,000 and was awarded 25,515 points. BB Bank Wild Park in Germany, home of Karlsruhe SC, was voted second with over 3,000 points. The Stadium of the Year competition is the largest of its kind, attracting tens of thousands of votes from around the world each year. In addition to the public votes, world-renowned judges have been added to the competition to select what they believe to be the best facility from the list of nominees. The competition is in its 12th edition, and over the years, stadiums from North and South America, Europe, and Asia have been named winners. Talking entertainment, she is the sultry Ghanaian singer-songwriter who, believe it or not, has been lighting up the charts for 18 years now. And of course, I'm talking about Ifya, ahead of her headline show in London. This weekend, News Central international correspondent Ifya Hagen sat down with her to talk about dealing with the critics and longevity in a tough industry.
Okay, everybody, and then sing your sound back, yo. The standout star from Charterhouse's Stars of the Future talent hunt and reality show in 2006, Effia went on to amass a huge following before signing her first deal with One Nation Entertainment in 2011. Since then, the songstress has assisted some of the biggest names in Afrobeats on some of their most memorable hits, including Mr. Easy, Tiwa Savage and Wizkid, and has carved out a name for herself as one of the genre's standout musicians. She's also renowned for her on-stage presence, performing all over the world for presidents, VIPs and fans alike. Now she's taking to the stage in London once again, hoping to reconnect with her fan base.
We're just trying to see how we can do things in our own little way to grow an Effia community in London, which is the purpose. So we'll do a little bit of this here, a little bit of that there. Hopefully by next year we'll do the O2. But yes, I am willing to put in the work to grow a community here and also, you know, create my own fan base and establish it in London.
Like anyone in the public eye, Effia has come under scrutiny and criticism, but she vows not to let the negativity hold her back.
Knowing who you are is very essential. You know, I know who I am to the point where I don't let anything that is said about me or to me that it does not bring me inspiration or money. I don't let it affect me. It took a while though, because I used to be really upset about it. Like if you tweet at me and you say something, I'll tweet back. No, I think that's part of growing up. You realize that it's not everybody that you need to like go at and like feed into that negativity. No, so what I do is I focus on the great things that are happening to me in the now and the future, which is brighter than today, and also just to maintain my mindset, you know, yeah. And I have a very, very amazing support system. So, you can't touch me.
Longevity is the key to her career, having been in the business for nearly 20 years. Effia says the secret to her success is reinventing herself and loving what she does.
You have to want it more than everybody else, I guess. Yeah, and then you have to know that, concentrate on your journey, focus on what it is that makes you who you are and makes you special, and grow it and then manifest it into like whatever it is that you feel like you deserve in the timeline. Depending on how you relate to yourself, that's how people will relate to you. So I think for me, I just really enjoy what I do so much that I continue to do it.
With a sold-out show and more visuals incoming in support of our current EP, No More Tears, it looks like 2024 is going to be another big year for Effia. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan.
And that's all on the news. But before we go, we take a look at some of our top stories. Nigeria's inflation rate rises to 31.7% in February. Wild celebrations in Senegal as opposition leader Ousmane Sonko is released from prison. We also told you that 3 killed in Al-Shabaab siege on a Mogadishu hotel. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screen, and you can follow us on social media. You are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onabanjo.